Di, how are you today?
I am very well, Laura. I've just lost the window. Where are you? Where did you go?
We're here.
We can see
I can
you.
hear. I can hear you.
Hi, Stuart.
Where on earth?
I can't
Oh,
see
I've got you. I've got you back. Okay, cool. I can see you now. What's going on, guys? You
Yes,
all right?
Stuart.
Yeah, we just had
Uh,
a biblical downpour.
Hello.
A biblical downpour.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely thundering with rain, which I think is a good sign.
that's what we call in Wales Tuesday.
yeah.
Is that where you are now? You at home?
Yeah, I'm literally just up the road from my home, so I'm in a cheeky Starbucks. So yeah, mixing things up a bit. But yeah, guys, I'm so sorry I missed the last couple, but I was off last 2 weeks ago for my birthday. But good to be back.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
What
Thank you
did you
so
do?
much.
What did you do or receive that was special?
I went to a creativity conference just outside Nottingham, the Hayes Christian Conference Centre, I think the place is called. But yeah, there was this creativity conference and blessed the socks off me. So
Did
I
it?
felt filled up. So yeah, it was good.
How did it inspire you to be creative? In what way?
So I think that the kind of intentionality behind it is it was kind of inspired by C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien's The Inklings group, where they'd kind of discuss creativity and theology and how to tell the story. And so it came from this guy, the singer-songwriter guy in America, who was inspired by that to build a community similar. So he's built it in Nashville, and where I was at was the kind of UK iteration of that. Yeah, so just lots of people passionate about telling the story well. Um, yeah, through creativity, through excellence, and so there were lots of inspiring conversations. But then the content was it was not just teaching, kind of didactic teaching. It was there was elements of teaching, there was elements of um, opening up the floor for conversation, and also showcasing
Mm,
creativity. So
mm, mm.
yeah, and I got to do a poem there as well that I actually wrote when I was there.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, it went on well. So that was
Love
good.
that. Love
Yeah.
that. Stuart, are you a C.S. Lewis or Tolkien fan?
yes, a Tolkien fan particularly. Yeah,
Mm.
Mm.
um, yeah. Well, when I go to Oxford, which is fairly frequently, I like to go and see some of
Yeah.
the Tolkien related sites. But the pub where the Inklings used to meet, it's been closed. I think since COVID.
Yes.
There's scaffolding up outside it,
Yeah.
as if they're going to reopen it, but that's been
Yeah.
there for a
I've
while.
heard. I heard last week that the plan I think is to reopen. So yeah, fingers crossed. Um, but yeah, Tolkien was Catholic, wasn't he?
He was. There is a cause for his canonization, but I'm not quite sure what stage it's at.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh wow, it's
I was
exciting.
I was looking up something about from C.S. Lewis this
Yeah.
morning, and I found this quote from him. I was with book as a woman is with child. Do you love it? I love it.
Yeah. Just
Noel,
nursing a
yeah,
book.
nursing it. Well,
Yeah.
kind of feel like the kind of yeah the sort of ink, the stirrings inside, and yeah, I can totally get
Yeah.
it. Noel, what's going on with you? We're having a creative chat. What are you excited about at the moment?
Oh, what am I excited about? Um, do you mean any sort of creativity?
Anything. What are you looking forward to? Where is that passion, that kind of bubbling sense of this is what I love. My passion is aroused. I really feel alive when I'm doing this, or I'm looking forward to that thing down the line, or I must do a bit more of that. That's what we're looking for today. And I think we've got to pay attention to it.
Come on, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
On the spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna think. Can I think, Laura?
Have a little think. Have a
Yeah.
little think. It's just something I've been reattuned to recently. I came across a tool that I knew from years and years ago, but I hadn't seen it for a long, long
Mm.
time. I'm just going to really briefly pull it up because this is so important. And it's a bit of a diversion, but it might, hopefully it's a creative,
Yeah.
exciting diversion. Can you see it on my screen right there?
Weird, I can't.
No.
Oh, you've
Right.
you've got split screens for
Yeah,
some.
let me go again. Let me go
There we go.
again. Apologies. Share. There we go. Right. Yeah. Okay, it's called Ikigai. Have people seen this? So what we're doing and what we're pointing towards, and the Five Voices is all over this, it's all about trying to find this, is this center point. And the center point is where these four outer titles collide. So doing what you love doing what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And quite often we will start to feel dissatisfied when one or more of those are missing. So, for example, if what you love, and that's what I'm talking about here, is what makes you excited and passion, if what you love is missing, then you will have this feeling here. You'll feel comfortable, but a little bit empty. Does that make sense? If what you're doing isn't what the world needs, but you love it, you're good at it, you can be paid for it, but it's not really where the need is, you might feel a bit useless, but you're kind of satisfied in what you're doing. So these points, these feelings will give you a clue as to which of the circles is missing. So I think that's quite an exciting one just to consider there. Yeah, take a little screenshot of it, and it's one to ponder later. So I'm looking for this feeling of passion, and when your excitement sort of links with what you can be paid to do, what the world needs, and what you're good at doing. But which one is missing? I think it's quite a good little lens to do as a sort of refresher or taster, linking us back to 70/30 tool and linking us back to Five Voices. So anyone want to weigh in on that? Did that make sense to anyone? Does that feel like a
I smiled because the last thing I read before you took it off was happy, fulfilled, but no wealth. And I was like,
Yeah,
how many
we all
Christian ministries
we all
does that
resonate with
sum up?
that.
yes, exactly. Go on, Stuart.
So we all resonate with that.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
come across it before. It's Japanese, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Ikigai. Yeah, it is. I think just a helpful one to be reminded of. I think sometimes we can lose our way when we forget that it matters to do what the desires of our hearts to do what we're aligned with in terms of our wirings and passions. Beth, hello. Anything interesting from you? Anything you're excited about, or did that model resonate with you at all?
Yeah, I resonate with the same one as everyone else. So, yeah, happy and fulfilled, but no wealth, but that's
Yes.
I think today has been really good because we've been presenting a new programme to the executive team, which is working with individuals of high net worth and how we're going to ask them to be part of our mission, give them the blessing of invitation to give us a large gift. So that's been exciting. So yeah, that's good.
Really lovely. I love that. So you're always trying to, unite what you're offering with people's desires and people's aims and goals. Yeah. And that you do that with real integrity. Well done. Okay, guys, well done. Well, let's launch in today off the back of that and think about these two tools. Claire and I have had a really fun time just sort of wrestling through them, looking at links. And here is a mindset that we came up with, which links back to one or two other things as well. So here's the Bible verse for today. I know you can't wait to know what it is. Philippians 2, verse 3 to 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. And Claire and I were just sort of riffing on this a bit, and we were talking about what happens when your self-preservation wall is up. When you have that sense of being the victim in something, you feel like the whole world is against you, or you feel unable to actually receive from others as well as to give to others. There's no compassion and there's no others focused, but usually it's because of fear. It's because of self-defensive tendencies and self-preservation, often coming from shame. So Claire made that link with shame. And I think that's really, really helpful. When I find myself in this place, quite often what I connect with is there's something someone has spoken over me or something I've taken on that is binding me, is keeping me held back. And so often just breaking it, saying it out loud, I just say, shame be gone in Jesus' name. Be gone, shame. And as soon as I realize that's what it is, it's a relief. I know exactly what to do. And actually, we can break that simply with the authority we have. So it's really helpful just to get it out, to speak it out. But look where it leaves you. When you're walking in shame, then you're apart from relationship. it leaves you away from relating to other people. So we can't consider what others say as important. We can't actually be compassionate to others because we are away, we're apart. And even if we're thinking bad thoughts of ourselves, we are self-focusing in that space, and it keeps us bound and it keeps us separate. So bearing that in mind, it's helpful then to think about who we're listening to in this space, in the 5 circles of influence. Who are we trying to impress, or who have we listened to too much? Who's had the authority? Which circle matters most to us? And it's really important, ironically, when it says don't think of yourself, think of others. Ironically, it's really important to bring it right back into that center place, to be centered in who you are, in God, who you are really, because ironically, that leads to true humility, to recognize who we are, how valuable you are, how impactful the way that you show up is. Because when we're unhealthy, that hugely impacts others. When we're not listening to them, we're not considering their opinion, that really impacts them poorly. But when we're healthy, when we're humble enough and strong enough and secure enough to consider ourselves worthwhile and considers other people as worthy, then we can give so much more to others. So we're thinking about a little bit of a interaction between the 5 circles as we look at this tool today. So we're starting with the responsive person. And the responsive person, the responsive team leader, the responsive partner, the responsive friend is able to take what feedback comes their way, even if it might feel like a rebuke at times, able to have someone disagree with them. We're able to really praise somebody else. And we're also able to receive praise from others because we're secure, we're confident, and we're humble, just as that verse was saying. But the opposite of those things, the place we can often find ourselves when we're in that cycle of shame, is we can be insecure, arrogant, and prideful. And that makes us resistant to collaboration with others, resistant to the feedback from other people, and resistant also to praise. Okay. We can't, if we're the other side, of that red line, then there's no way that we can actually receive praise and receive affirmation and receive encouragement from other people because we're so defensive. So it works in our favor as well as for the blessing of others if we can keep ourselves in that green space, green for liberation, support and challenge, calibrated, secure, confident, and humble. Now, what's important for us to do today, if you haven't done this already, is to think which of those pairings feels most resonant to me today. Okay, where do I find myself? Either where am I today, or where do I find myself most often? In which pairing, in which resistance space, if I'm going to be in one, do I find myself? So for me, I've been finding myself at times in the insecure, secure place. Why? Because I can sometimes look to others and look to tasks and look to work to make me feel secure, when I need to be able to find my security in things that are timeless and things that are conditionless. So what can I do? I was with somebody recently and we were looking at this tool together, and they said that they were in the insecure space. And I said, where are you getting at the moment your affirmation? And they said organization. That's where I'm looking for it. I'm looking to my organization to give me the affirmation that I desire. So the important thing then you can easily do is say to yourself, okay, well, I've got to bring that into that middle space. I've got to, there's no control there. You can't control how people interact with you and therefore build your security. You can only do it when you bring it back into that self space, into that space that you can control. Okay, so consider there out of those 3 pairings, which feels the most resonant one for you today. Okay, insecure, secure, arrogant, confident, or prideful to humble. Okay, so bank that now. So just everybody make a record of that, write it down, jot it down, type it in. And then we're going to look at the other tool as well, and then we're going to process the 2 together. Okay, so Claire, could you just talk us through investing time tool, please?
Yep, sorry, I was just doing the breakout rooms. Okay, so with this one, we have informal and spontaneous and formal and structured. And the reason that the image depicts a tightrope is because it's a balancing act. We know that structured and formal is essential to officially share processes and training. And it's easier to identify where those moments are going to happen in an office environment on a daily and weekly basis, and even if you're working virtually. But what does spontaneous and informal look like when you're developing your leadership toolkit, particularly with a virtual lens? So traditionally, you could bump into people if you're making a cup of tea, having lunch, and those little moments of connection will build up over time. So thinking about virtually, could you have an open office hours where people could potentially co-work together, or a separate communication channel like Discord is what my partner's company use. They just have informal in chats on there. Or also sending voice notes, because it's very different for people to hear your pace and tone and intonation sort of in person, virtually in person, than it is to reading yet another email. It's not about giving you lots of kind of extra complicated ideas. It's really about giving you options to build true relational trust intentionally that are going to replicate scenarios that would happen naturally in person. So do you know what your default is? Mine is naturally spontaneous. It wouldn't even kind of occur to me that I was necessarily doing something specific by reaching out and having an informal chat or sending a voice note, or a little note over Discord. I wouldn't even have to think about it. Laura, what would yours be?
Yeah, well, probably, predictably, mine would be the opposite one. So formal and structured, I really do live by my calendar. I tend to have everything sort of set in. And I remember back to when I was a head of department at a busy school, I would have one-to-ones with the team. And I think at times I found some of the interruptions of the informal, spontaneous colleagues, especially if I had a pile of marking and I was trying to work through it, I could find that hard. So I feel for you guys who are team leaders, who feel like perhaps you've got constant interruptions, or you have to often dig quite deep socially within your teams. That can be quite hard as well. It's important for it to be boundaried and for you to use the gears. We didn't have the gears back then, but if I think that would have been a really helpful tool. But I also learned the importance of the informal, spontaneous as well for collaboration, and fun, creative things came out of those spontaneous interactions as well, including the colleague I mentioned who was constantly interrupting me is now my husband, James. So good things can come. So allowing us to work in both of those spaces is really important. So ask yourself, which of these is my default? Am I really good informally? Do I tend to say to my team, guys, my door is always open, come and see me? But my team might deep down be thinking, but I'd like to have a time that's just mine. Even if I don't always need it, or if we actually did it the day before, I'd like to know I have a one-to-one, that's in place. Or is it the other way around? Is it the one-to-ones are all there, my team love that, but I'm not really very malleable when it comes to being interrupted. I don't allow there to be maybe office hours, which are interruptible times for me. So you might want to just have a little look, have a little think about particular people as around you as well. Do they have formal and informal time? And it's the same at home. It's the same for your relationships at home as well. Do you have one-to-one time with those people who are most important to you, your best friend, your close family members? And are you also able to pick up the phone occasionally and just say, I was just thinking of you, are you free? Do we have both of those in those important relationships too? Okay, so those are the two tools. There's quite a bit to process. Take a little photograph of, if you will, of the task for today, the breakouts for today, where you get to chat with somebody else and look these through. You don't have to do all of them, but you can just pick one of the two tools if you like, that it's most spoken to you. But if I don't want you to run out of things to say, so we're going to give you 10 minutes shortly. But before we do, let's go back into the room and welcome to people who've joined us since. Hello, Rachel. Lovely to see you. Any questions on those two tools? They're quite different. I tried to find more connections between them, but I just thought we'll leave it at two separate tools today. Any thoughts or questions? Otherwise, go forth and chat, and I'll look forward to seeing you for some processing the other side. Thank you, Claire.
How are we doing? Has that sent you? Hopefully you should have a request for room 1, because I put both of your people in, Rachel. Is that hang on, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Laura, I can't.
Claire, do you and Rachel want to chat here?
Can do.
Yeah, Rachel, why don't you stay here? Let Di and Stu, they've probably started by now, so let Di and Stu have a chat. If you're happy, I'll just listen in, but I'll just go off cam so you can chat.
Okay. There's 2 of me, so I'm going to leave and come back.
Okay, Rachel, no worries. I can still see you on that one, but I just can't hear you for some reason. You're muted on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm here. I don't know what I did then.
That's all right.
Yeah. And I don't know why like all that came through for me was this, it just said redirect.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So there was no link in the email, but obviously everyone else got it fine. And it was the same email.
Yeah, I just posted it. Yeah. How odd.
Very odd.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, let me just pause this because it is all happening today.
Great. I was just sort of in the back seat there, listening to Claire and Rachel having a really lovely, excellent coaching chat there. Rachel, what was a sort of thought for you today? What are you left with as you look at those 2 tools? Any thoughts to share?
No, not really. I was just sort of saying really how good I think the Bible Society is for developing these kinds of things. That, you know, there's so much in place to help support you and things.
So we're looking at particularly at those 3 characteristics there of secure, confident, and humble.
Yeah, I tend to be insecure.
Okay, so if there's one that you can go to,
Yeah.
and what does that look like for you, Rachel? If you're in the insecure space, how does that show up for you?
I don't think it shows up to other people particularly. It's more that I'm saying that my mind starts going, oh, people aren't happy with me, people are not, you know, and then I have to sort of stop myself and think, right, okay, well, why would you think that?
Yeah. So worrying about what other people think. James is reading a book at the moment called The Courage to be Disliked. And that resilience, that sense of having some sort of inner strength that isn't looking constantly to how others are experiencing us or feedback from others. So it's really good just to say it out loud, be aware of it. That's what can make me feel insecure. And then think about what pathway could I find? What bridge can I build from insecure to secure? That's the route. And we're going to look at that in a bit. How do we move ourselves there? Great. Thank you, Rachel. Matt, let's hear from you next. Hello.
So resistance and responsive. Hello. Hello. Just fill in. I'd generally say I'm more in the responsive side. I'm generally a confident person. I think the conversation we had, it kind of all depends on the situation you're in and who you're talking to and what mindset you're in, all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
But generally, yeah, I'm responsive, I'd say. Generally confident, definitely a humble person, but there is something there about secure and insecure. And that's kind of driven by, I think one thing I pulled out for me is it depends on the situation you're put in, depends on if you're secure or if I'm secure and insecure. That's a big drive. I hate being put into positions or situations where I don't have time to understand or prepare and prepare myself or whatever it is to respond to the situation. Don't like it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a human nature thing, I think, somewhere. But
Why
that's
do you
kind of
think that is? What I'm
um,
curious about that. Why do you think that is that what the connection I've heard you say that I think it's really insightful is if I don't have time to fully prepare and I'm asked to do something, then I feel insecure. Can you tell us more about that?
yeah, I would say, and once again, this conversation we're having again in the room, there's something, and I'm thinking now on my toes, there's something around, I think, the the expectation of myself that I
Yes.
have for me. And that, yeah, we can go deep on that. Possibly it's driven by my dad as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's what it comes down to. It's my expectation of what I want to bring to the table, what I think I should be doing, and
Mm.
I should be doing it bang on point every single day, every point I can. And it's not realistic to do that.
I think that's
That makes
brilliant.
sense.
Yeah, that's so good. Does that make sense to others as well? Just nod if you get it. I mean, that sense of self-preservation, the tool says,
Mm.
what are you trying to prove to whom?
Yeah,
What are you trying to prove to whom? And there's a lot of research about the role of particularly fathers in terms of expectations we put on ourselves. So I've had that with coaching somebody else, 50-year-old entrepreneur, really successful. What are you trying to prove to whom? My dad. He's 54, really successful business person. I'm still trying to prove stuff to my dad. What's that about? Well, that's because of the link between fatherhood and identity. So, what I also heard you say there, Matt, is if I don't have time to prepare. And I think being a blue for Guardians, knowledge is power is a really important slogan. Knowledge
yeah.
is power for Guardians. So, not feeling like I've been able to get the knowledge I want or need to do my research, to do my due diligence, that cuts me off from feeling secure. So,
Yeah.
it's about managing that expectation for yourself.
Completely agree. And I'm 100% a lot better at it than I used to be. But I still recognise it's there, to be honest. And it comes
Great.
and goes and depends on the situation.
And it's a good thing because it means you do your research. It means you work hard and do your due diligence for things to prepare fully in a way that perhaps another colour might want to wing it a little bit or might be underprepared. You'll be prepared. But it's being able to say, do you know what? In this situation, that slogan isn't my friend right now. Knowledge is power doesn't apply here. So I actually can choose to lay it down and still feel secure. That's
Yeah,
freedom.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to pull some out there as well. And it's for me, it's in might be the same for you guys. It's not the fact that I want to, be arrogant,
Yeah.
perhaps, know
Yeah.
everything about a situation. For me, for my very nature is because I want to be helpful. I want to be
Yes.
able to give people the answers that they need to move them forward and to help them.
Yeah.
That's what it comes from for me.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I think that sense of wanting to be useful is
Mm.
so much in that Guardian's desire. And Noelle, let's go to another Guardian. Any overlap there or anything different from you?
Yes, lots of overlap. I feel so much of what he's saying. But I think maybe to put a bit of a twist on it for me,
Mhm.
I think it can go into the humble, prideful thing where I feel a similar thing. If I'm in a meeting, I have a meeting recently that I've started doing quite regularly, where I'm bringing in an idea for something that makes us quite a lot of money, and then I have the team come and we sort of poke holes in it basically, and not just poke holes, but give ideas and try and make it better. And sometimes it can feel, since I'm leading it and I'm coming up with a lot of it, that it can feel like it's to do with me. And I constantly have to remind myself that, first of all, I need to be humble because I have not thought of everything. And that's why I've asked my team to come and share ideas with me. And secondly, I probably have got some stuff wrong too. And it has happened where people have said, oh, that's not quite right. But I think the humble, prideful thing comes in there because I'm taking something that's actually a blessing, which is to have my team, and I'm looking at it from like a scarcity perspective almost of like, how is this badly affecting me personally, instead of like, how is this good for all of us, I guess, if that makes sense. So I think I constantly have to remind myself that it's a really good thing, and that also that it's not just a reflection on me, it's to do with how much money we make, and it's supposed to be really good for our whole team. So if that makes sense.
So good. I love that reference to the scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And that can be a trap, particularly for certain voice types, is to think, I just have this finite set of resources and I will deplete it. And then I have to wait for it to be replenished rather than actually, we've got this and we can build it. Energy is a replenishable source. So how can we use this in a way that is really confident? How can we let our cup overflow and that others can actually enjoy that overflow rather than think, oh, I don't have that much left here. How can I build it? Claire, do you want to say anything on that? It feels like it felt quite resonant with some of the stuff we were chatting about before the call.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we were talking about self-preservation, or if you're feeling insecure and you're coming across as arrogant or behaving in a prideful way, you're in shame. That's what we were talking about. And when you're in those sort of modes, you can't necessarily take critique of an idea without it feeling like it's criticism of yourself. And I think, yeah, being lacking that sort of self-awareness is when you fall into those moments, but being self-aware stops you from sort of falling into that hole.
So having a feel around and knowing what the signs are.
Yeah,
What does it
absolutely.
look like when I'm feeling insecure or arrogant or prideful?
Yeah.
How does that show up in me? And what can I do
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
replenish it?
If you're making it all about you, yeah, I think. But one of the things, like listening to Matt when he was sort of talking there about any specific sort of insecurities that you might have, like they don't have to be shared widely. It could be an insecurity, it could be an unmet need, but the most important thing I think for ourselves and for others that you and I were talking about, Laura, is compassionate inquiry, because having compassion rather than judgment is the best way out, I would say.
Yeah, really good. And having that for yourself is helpful as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah,
Remember,
absolutely. For
we talked
yourself
before
first.
about just cultivating that voice in the self space that says, oh, well done, Laura. Or, oh, just look after yourself. That the sense of just saying nice things to yourself and noticing when you're not, noticing when there's perhaps boastful chat, which is not going to help you down the line, it's going to hurt you, or knowing when there's that insecure chat as well going on, what kinds of things you're saying. Beth, any of this resonant for you?
Talking about confidence and the fact that doesn't mean you have to know everything. I think it's one thing. So sometimes, like when I'm in meetings with the executive team or the board of trustees, they sometimes will ask like a really precise number, like what is the figure for this? And I might not know, and it could be tempting just to like make it up. Actually, being secure is more like being able to say, well, actually, I don't have that with me right now, but I can find out and I'll come back to you. And that doesn't take away any confidence, or it's still confident. It's actually acknowledging can't actually know everything at that moment. Okay. So yeah, we're just talking a bit about that and how confident and arrogant can be quite difficult as well. Like how much do you let your team work towards an answer, and when do you step in and give more direction?
Yeah, very good. So if you know your tendency, then you'll know which place to be intentional in. Yeah, it's really helpful. I love that. So knowing when to admit that you don't know something, and also being willing to admit when you feel a bit vulnerable about something as well. Appropriate vulnerability is a great sign of humility. So an example I came up with when I did this couple of years ago, and I saw my notes, is that my dad told off my son, spoke to him quite aggressively, and I obviously was a bit upset with that because my son was a bit upset and he was only young at the time. And I thought at the time, I think I responded to my dad quite pridefully, quite kind of like, oh, don't speak to him like that, or something like that, perhaps. And what I was processing in the notes was what I should have done was say, Dad, Gil's a bit upset about the way you spoke to him. Do you think you could perhaps put it right? And actually, the nice thing is, as I look back at those notes of a couple of years ago, we were up there recently, and same thing happened. Dad told him off. Gil can do annoying things. But he went without me even having to say anything. He went and just made it right because I held back and kept quiet, waited and paused. So that's encouraging, isn't it? So knowing when to be vulnerable, knowing when to step in and share good practice, because our people, our teams want to see that we are confident but not arrogant. That's an important distinction, isn't it, to make, because they need to feel that we've got this, and that will help them to feel secure as well. Because we're, no man is an island, no woman is an island. These things all sort of feed into one another. Okay, I'm going to go straight to Di and Stuart straight after the next breakout room. So looking forward to what they have to say. But for now, let's think about our next steps. So what I'd like you to do is choose one action from today's tools. So one thing, if you have time to do both tools, great. But which of those two tools has felt most relevant to you today? Was it informal, formal, or was it the first one, responsive versus resistant? And then think about the effect it's having. Just follow it around the loop. What effect is me sitting in that insecurity or acting in that prideful way? What effect is that having? Not scheduling informal time, not scheduling formal time and not being open to informal time, or not having a route or a context for the informal time to take place. What effect is that having? So follow it round on my relationships. What effect is that having on my productivity and so on? And then can you identify a small pattern change to put into practice as a result of this call? So call it, which tool, own it, which piece is missing, or what's my growth area, and then a response and then an execution. So when and who. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's observations when we come back afterwards to continue those conversations. So any questions on the task? Great, see the other side, and can't wait to hear what you have to say and share. Great chat, by the way. That was so good. Got some really good things out of that. Sprinters. Well done. Stuart, coming to you first as promised. So which tool spoke to you most keenly today, and what are you going to do?
Yeah, the first one, Dan and I spoke about it quite, at length, really. I was saying to him that, each year I ask God for kind of a focus for the year. And for this year, for me, has been humility. And I recorded a podcast for the TQR podcast series a couple of weeks ago. I spoke about humility. And I may have said this here before. Humility comes from the Latin word humus, which means earth. A humble person is somebody who is grounded, somebody who's rooted, somebody who knows what they really are. And that, pride is both to big yourself up and to belittle yourself. But my tendency is to belittle myself. So when I'm in that resistance space, it's insecurity. But to get to the secure bit, for me, the path is humility. And here's the difficult bit for me. Boiling that down to a single action to do, I'm not entirely sure that's possible. If it was, I think, I could write a very successful book. But I do think primarily it's a grace. And so day by day, my first prayer is to be humble, to grow in humility, to know who I really am. And each step throughout the day to remind myself of who and what I am in front of God and in front of other people. But that's going to be a daily recalibration throughout life, because humility is like a rabbit in a forest. At the moment you think you've got it, it will disappear. So yeah, so that's my one action. Then, there's a prayer in the Catholic tradition called the Litany of Humility. I will pray that every day.
Mm. Excellent. And that is a brilliant example, a litany, a prayer of a small pattern change that can help us just to come out of those mindsets as well. I had a bit of a crash recently in B&Q where I got into a conversation with somebody, and it was really not cool. It was not okay. And I think I'd been a bit put out by the way I'd been treated, and I'd spoken more sharply than I'd meant to. And then I got a very stinging rebuke from somebody. And it was really, really difficult. But what I realized when I looked back at it that evening, because I did an examine, I thought, what happened today was that I hadn't gone back to my centering prayer at lunchtime. And for me, my pattern change is morning, noon, and night to have some input that is healthy at each point of that. It might only be a few minutes, but otherwise, like a kind of shopping trolley that's wonky, that constantly wants to move, to one side. That's what happens with me is as the day wears on, I move away from the liberation zone that I have started the day with. So at noon, to have something that centers me back, brings me back to the center so I can continue is my pattern change that's helpful, Stuart. That's so great. Thank you for those brilliant insights. Could you please put your podcast in the chat for us if you have a link to it,
I will
Stuart?
when it comes out. I'm not sure when
Right.
it comes out yet. I think well, yeah, I'll see if I can find a link to the series. I think it's episode 6.
Great. Really love to hear some more on the humility piece. Di, let's come to you next.
Well, I'm incredible at being humble. So that's the first point I want to make. I'm truly excellent at it. So yeah, I just want to make sure everyone realizes how humble I am. So that being said, humility. I think for me, the responsive resistance, yeah, as Stuart said, that's kind of what we were chatting around. I think in the sort of first part, I was sort of reflecting on my journey sort of with my security and insecurity. I think when I started out, kind of with my sort of storytelling, poetry stuff, I was very insecure and I'd kind of fall into the comparison trap quite a lot. And I'd need affirmation constantly. I wouldn't feel good enough. And so it's lovely in a sense to kind of see this journey that I've been on really where I'm a lot more secure in my voice. And in what I've got to share now, not what I was, which is brilliant. But I'm kind of finding myself in a different sort of season where I'm kind of trying to balance being the person that gets to share creatively, but also um, where possibly before I was chasing the gigs or the next opportunity, I'm kind of a bit of a gatekeeper and being the one that's gets to curate and lead events. So it's it's a challenging space to be. Uh, One I think is a pride thing. They can fall into a pride thing because I think where poets or storytellers or creatives, perhaps if they just kind of see me in a sort of producer curation role, there's that part of me that wants to go, look at my CV, I want you to see me as a creative as well, not just a gatekeeper. So I think that's part of the tension. And I think part of it is a fear of not being seen to kind of give myself too much of a spotlight because I'm curating. And so I kind of wrestle with this tension constantly of, just trying to kind of, I think, overcompensate sometimes and give myself less time. But I think the sort of pattern change and how I'm wrestling with this is I think it does ultimately come down to humility because I think it's put into death pride. That's kind of what humility is really. And I think when I feel that that's what I'm striving for is recognition or
Yes.
reputation or
Yes.
credibility, that's when I know I have to lay something down.
Yes.
And I think I've seen a couple of moments recently where I've kind of responded to the comparison trap by just sometimes through gritted teeth celebrating a peer for the success they're getting, and feeling at peace with it. And then, I think God in His grace, when I kind of make those choices, has surprising gifts for me. So I feel really grateful for that. But it is a journey. but I think giving thanks when others win, I think is a huge bit. Having peace that I don't have to prove myself. Yeah, and leaning into giving platform to others. So I think it's
Mm,
not the sin when that pride, when
mm,
that proving my worth comes up, that I
mm.
lean into that with the opposite.
Mm. Love that. And that brings us right back round to where we started in Philippians 2. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. And I think what we've said there is it's about fostering, isn't it? That childlike, not childish, but that childlike self peace, that love
Yeah.
that comes from being loved. I hear my 11-year-old playing cricket in the garden and I can hear his self-talk is so positive. Yeah, come on, Laurie. Yeah. Oh, another good ball, Laurie. Yeah. And he's so secure in being loved. And we lose that when we take on more and more responsibilities as we get older. But remembering that we are still a child and we're dearly loved, we're precious, and that therefore we have so much we can pour out to others whilst making sure that we remain centered in our heart, in that security of being loved is just so powerful. So keep going, just even a small little tweak, a couple of minutes here or there can make such a difference. So go well. Thank you for everything you brought today. You're amazing. And see you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you
Thanks,
soon.
Laura. Thanks, Claire. Bless you
Well
guys.
done. Go well.